Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Michael Dean Show here on podcastjuice.net. My name is Michael Dean, and joining me today is Mr. Antpooh. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great. I had a great week, and God damn it, I'm going to the beach.
Okay. Also joining me today is Mr. BigSexy and Antpooh. Sir, how are you?
You know, it's a little warm up here, too. We're running a new project, and we'll say that, and I'm just learning about people. And they ain't shit, but such is life. We're
going to get into the First Purge. That is the new Purge movie. It just came out July 4th, 2018. This is the fourth Purge movie in the series, but this is actually a prequel. And it's actually called The First Purge. It'd be interesting how people refer to these movies going forward, because you're like, oh, did you see The First Purge? And you'd be like, did you mean the First Purge or The First Purge? But anyway.
Okay.
The First Purge movie, or do you mean the movie called The First Purge? But anyway, this is going to be interesting, because this movie, I didn't expect what I got. And I think this movie is very interesting. So let's talk about The Purge, the series itself. I am a big fan of the premise of the Purge movies. I am not necessarily a big fan of the Purge movies themselves, but I think the concept is very interesting. I remember when the first movie came out with Ethan Hawke, and I remember seeing that trailer thinking, yo, this sounds very intriguing, man. It's a 12-hour period where crime is legal. I gotta see this. The execution of that movie was on some old bullshit. Right. It was like, I remember we did a review on it, and I was just like, man, I was so disappointed, because the concept is great, but they just didn't nail that. I think the next one was Purge Anarchy. I honestly don't remember too much about it. I think I liked it a little bit. And then the last movie that came out, I think it was last year, was Purge Election Day or something like that.
Yeah.
And I've only seen half of that movie, and only just recently did I watch that, because I think it's like on HBO or something. And it was kind of, this is that B movie bullshit. I was like, this is just kind of stupid.
Dude, don't be kind. That movie was trash.
Yeah, I the last part I watched, and I had to kind of tap out. I was like, this is that old bullshit. There was a scene in the movie. I can't think of the actor. He's a black dude. He's been in a lot of movies. But he was like a store owner or something. And they were in a van, they got surrounded by gang members or something like that. And they was like, the gang members is coming to the truck, and it's Purge night. They're going to get us. And the older black dude that was in there, he was like, yo, I got a way out of this. And I think he was like, started doing a whistle or something, or some sort of whistle. And they was like, you know how they were saved? They were saved because it was a Crip whistle. And I was like, nigga, I was like, huh? Yeah, I know all the Crip whistles, so they're going to give us a pass.
McKelty Williamson, who you talking about?
Who does he play? He plays.
I'm sorry, who?
McKelty Williamson. He was
Michael
Bubba.
T.
Well, whatever his name is. What character does he's known for? He's known from some other stuff.
He's Bubba from Forrest Gump.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, when he did the Crip whistle thing, I was like, I can't watch this. This is on some bullshit.
We got 60s Crips. We got A-Tray Crips. We got 20s Crips.
The Crip whistle. I was like, okay. But anyway, I say all that to say, the movies are out there. Now, I want to ask you guys, have you guys seen some of the other Purge movies?
I have not seen any of them, but again, like you, the premise is interesting to say the least.
Okay. What about you, Antpooh? I know you've seen some of them.
I've seen all three.
Okay.
The first one, I enjoyed it for what it was, which was, I felt like it was aping The Strangers. I don't know if you guys saw that film.
Yeah, yep.
It was similar to that, but had a more engaging premise. The second one had more action. They got more minorities that we could root for instead of the bum that made it off the streets. The third one, was hot garbage. They tried way too hard, and I guess we're going to get into it, which is why I'm glad they dumbed it down, in my opinion. They stripped away so much of that action stuff, and I felt, when I say action stuff, so much of we trying to ape or we trying to keep up with the Joneses, and came up with a nice original story.
Now, am I wrong into thinking that the third one, at least from the trailers and the half of the movie I've seen, could make a person think that they was trying to push this candidate? I got like Hillary Clinton vibe.
Bingo.
Okay. I didn't think I would be not to say that they're actually making her Hillary Clinton, but you can't help but sort of see that character sort of is positioned in that way. And her character was, she was trying to run for the president, or did she win presidency? I can't remember if she was the president or it was about the election time, but she was sort of, at the top there against the new founding fathers type government, whatever. I can't even think of my words. I'm tripping. But anyway, they always play on different little things. And as I think about it, even to the first movie, you see an inkling of what I think this new movie is all about. Because even in the first movie, Ethan Hawke's family, they live in a very nice suburb, nice house, and it's Purge night. And I thought the whole premise was about, there was a black dude was knocking on their door asking for help. And you saw that there was these other people was chasing that black guy to kill him. They was going to purge him. And so you got an inkling of, why the brother's the one being targeted, and they have to save. To me, it played on those fears of, this black guy's beating on your door. And the people are trying to kill him. Would you let him in? He's scary unto himself. To me, that's how the trailer kind of plays into those sort of fears type of thing. But of course, Ethan Hawke, they're good people. But it's interesting because, again, you see in that movie, the blue flower was a sign that you supported the Purge. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh wow!
Which plays into this
schooling me.
Which plays into this new movie, but I don't. You can look at,
yeah.
I was doing some research, but you look at when those Purge people came to his door because he was giving shelter to that black guy. That Purge dude with the mask was like, "Yo, I see you have the flower out, so I know you good people and you support this Purge, but I'm gonna need you to let go of the nigga." Now he didn't say it like that, but you get that blue flower meant something, and it plays into this movie. That's why I brought that in. But I'm just saying, like, you saw little inklings of that type of stuff, and even in some of the other movies, I remember the guy who plays, I always call him Omar, but Michael K. Williams. He was the resistance leader in one of those movies, and it seemed like it was mainly some black resistance group that was fighting against, the military organizations that were in the street and those militias and stuff. Yeah. And you kind of, now I can see where that sort of comes from as you watch this new movie. So, but I say all that to say is they was kind of showing you little things of maybe this Purge wasn't really about just, bringing down the crime rate, the body count. It was about bringing the body count down, or bodies down, population, not crime. And specifically, it might have been about going after certain types of people. So this new movie, The First Purge, is a prequel, and it sets up why they're actually doing the Purge and what that actual first Purge was like. And I think I'll say this movie is very, from what I've seen, it's a trigger movie for some people. On Facebook, right? On my Facebook page, after I saw this movie, I immediately posted some shit up, and I said the first Purge equals blacks fighting NRA backed Klan and race soldiers in the streets. I'm being a little funny with it, but I posted that up, and a gentleman, I'm not going to say his name, I'm not trying to blast him. Now, I notice he has defriended me now because his name isn't highlighted anymore, which is hilarious. But he went on a tangent.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. He went on a tangent about why the NRA was started. Started out by training ex-slaves. It ends, but here's the thing. And I didn't even really respond to him. I just said, thanks for the history lesson. Now back to the movie. I don't know what you're talking about. But here's how you know this movie strikes a chord, because here's what he ends up saying toward the end of his rant. And you wonder why some white people do not believe you.
Yep.
Say no more. I was like, wow. I said, hey, man, I just said you played yourself. Happy 4th, bro. Because with all that shit you talking, man, we talking about a movie. It's a fictional movie that has some basis in somewhat of reality. But if you get that triggered over what I said and you got to go into this whole rant, you ain't even seen the movie yet. You don't know what you're talking about. And then when everybody just kind of standing there looking at you like, what the fuck is he talking about? You get mad, and then you just show your true colors. And you wonder why white folks don't. It's like, man, go on with that, man. I don't even know how I know this person. So-called friends.
Yeah, I was giving you a side eye.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even, and I would say he was and I'm using quotation marks, he was a Prince fan. And that's probably how he, was following me or whatever. He listened to the podcast. So it is what it is. But this movie is triggering some folks. And we're going to get into the review, but I just wanted to set it up. I had, of course, I'd seen the trailer before, so already knew it had some black folks in this movie in prominent roles, not like the side characters. So I already said like, oh, okay, I got my eye on this movie. And I remember some of the early posters had a hat that looked like the Make America Great hat, but it just said the First Purge. So I was like, oh, they're really trying to be funny, and they're going to be showing some shit. So I had went on to YouTube. Must have been Tuesday or it was Monday, and I saw like the first reviews started coming out from some YouTubers, and I have to say there was some white YouTubers, and I'm like, okay, cool, I want to see what they say, and one of them was like, well, so the First Purge, we've seen all of the movies, but this one's a little different. It's a multicultural, kind of an urban, there's, people of color, are the leads. It's a little different. It's like, why are they like kind of beating around the bush here? What is this? Something I'm missing? Cause I know from the trailer, it looks like it's on some other shit. So I was like, I gotta go see this movie ASAP, because he seems uncomfortable talking about it. He just, the lighting, so the lighting, I'm like, well, nigga, I want to know what the story. Why are you trying to throw, you're trying to shift away from talking about what's going on. So I went to go see it the very next day. And let me tell you, this here's, I'm just keep it right front. I give it, if it was, if you're doing 4 stars at the top, I'm giving it 4 stars. Okay. This is a horror movie, right? The Purge is in a horror genre, and it is very much a horror movie. And I'm going to tell you why. Because to me, yes, there are horror movies that show the monsters, the serial killers, Jason. There's the horror movie, where there's the Seven, Silence of the Lambs, there's very dark type horror movies, and there's funny type of horror movies that's played, torture porn and all that. To me, this is a horror movie for black folks, particularly because the shit that is horrifying to me, it's horrifying if there's killers out and Jason and Freddy Krueger, all these types. There's Halloween. They showed a new trailer for Halloween. Yeah, that's all horror, but that's fantasy. To me, it's horrifying to think about brothers getting lynched. To me, it's horrifying to think about shit like Charleston or when the church got shot down. That's real horror to me. So this shit there's a lot of things that are very scary in this movie. Like, I wouldn't want them to happen. And sometimes all horror movies ain't funny, or they ain't for laughs or just pure entertainment, though I find this movie is very entertaining. But I would say this is a horror movie. It would be a horrifying movie if there was a movie where they outlawed particular people for whatever reason. But then again, I would look at 12 Years a Slave as a horror movie. Some people would be like, this is great, give them Academy Award. I see that as a horror movie. Like, I don't want to be whipped. I don't want to be a slave. That's horrifying to me. So The Purge fits right along in that, because there's some horrifying shit that happens in this. So one, it's a horror movie, and I think it shows horrific shit. So it does that. The other reason why I like this movie, I give it 5 stars, is because it has protagonists that I can somewhat identify with a little bit more. And at least I'm not a drug dealer or anything like that, but I can understand the circumstances. I know some of the choices they gonna make. A lot of times horror movies, they have people doing dumb shit. This movie does that as well. They're doing dumb shit. But some of the shit in there, I'm like, okay, yeah, I could kind of see that happening. Some of this, sadly, I can see happening, as we'll get into it. But the other reason I give this 4 stars is because it has kick-ass action. To me, the movie that got some brothers, actually, men, like manly men type dudes, gathering together and getting their arms together. Shout out to Q. they see that something's going down in the community, and they like, nah, we're not having this shit. Let's go get these guns, and we're gonna be the hero, and we're gonna take back these streets. I thought that was entertaining. I actually thought that was it kind of made me feel good. I was like, yeah, okay, they tooling up, but they're not gonna just get slaughtered. At least go without a fight. I thought that was dope. That was on some superhero shit. The lead character, Demetrius, he turns into Batman, essentially. Now, if anyone listens to this show, I'm all over Batman v Superman, the Batman scene we in the warehouse, and how Batman was just going ham on people and savage with it. That's in this movie, but it's a brother doing it. I'm like, hey, I don't need to know how he's doing it. Shit looks dope. It's getting me hyped. Let's go. And it's gun busting, and who doesn't want to see somebody take out villains? Who don't want to see, like, if, I think of Indiana Jones, he taking out the Nazis. Yeah. So they taking out Nazis in this. They taking out Klan, Aryan Neck. Yeah. Hey, who don't, they're showing these people, and I'm going to be funny style. My man Trump, he said there's good people on both sides. In this movie, it was just one side. They was killing people. Ain't no good, and they was getting they just due, revenge. So I was all into it. So for just the action alone, I was all into it. It was dope. So for me, 4 stars. And again, cause there's some horrifying shit in it. But at least we came out the victor somewhat. Now, of course, the purge is going to happen, so we ain't going to be winning. But I love that movie. We're going to get into the specifics, but I'm just giving you my upfront take on it. I'm not saying this is Academy Award winning movie or anything like that, but is it entertaining? Yes. Is it a lot of action, hardcore, blood, guns busting, an action movie? Yes. Does the brother look dope in it, getting it in, saving the community? Yeah, I'm with it. Just as Cats was into them blaxploitation movies back in the day where it was very cookie cutter type, black, white, this and that and the third, this movie is doing the same thing. If y'all praised it then, if Tarantino can build his whole career praising that, then you gotta have the same energy in 2018 if they do it again and you're the villain. You can't be mad. You can't pick and choose what you want to praise. So they're doing the same thing now. And we're going to get into it, but all the people that's mad because it's too political. This race baiting, and So, my first question: so you ride with Bush? You ride with Trump? And it ain't even really about Trump, but I'm just saying, like, they killing people in the movie. They're not talking about you. They're talking about clans and stuff. That ain't, if that ain't you, what you worried about?
Exactly, unless they are a clan.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's striking the nerves or you're going to be exposed, and this is why they don't want to believe. Listen, this is a fantasy revenge movie. That's it, man. It ain't no different than any other fantasy revenge horror movie. It's just that it's very blatant on showing you they're not beating around the bush like them other movies where they're just showing, hey, this is what it is. So anyway, I've said enough. I feel like I'm rambling. Antpooh, give us your take on the movie, and then we're going to get into some spoilers type stuff.
Okay, I'm going to try to be quick.
My bad. I don't want to preach shit.
Nah, I got a unruly baby. So say hey, Mia. Anyway, now I will say it was somewhat of a letdown based on how hard you went in for this movie. I was expecting, like, God, this is gonna be like Menace to Society meets Boys in the Hood meets meets Triple X with Ice Cube, because you're gonna see the brother that can do it all. But it wasn't to that level, but it was a fun ass movie. I don't know what more you can ask for seeing predominantly black cast. Yes, there were some stereotypes. Yes, there were some tropes, but fuck all that. You had crazy ass crackhead evil demon. You got dumbass Tariq from Power incarnate.
Uh-oh.
Just cut his mic off.
Uh-oh.
That's keeping it 100. You got a baby. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Well, let me ask you this. You said it was like a horror film. Well, how does it play alongside something like Get Out?
Oh, it doesn't, but you guys...
Well, no, I would say it does, actually. Because there's a lot of blatant and very subtle little things thrown in this movie. When I say it's a horror, I would put the Purge in a horror, sub-horror genre unto it itself. So it still has, those, I know you haven't seen the other movies, but it has, these crazy type people running around the streets killing people and all that type of stuff. I mean, it has all that type of stuff, but it has, to me, things that tie into some real shit that would make, depending on who you are, going to make you like, oh, I see what you're doing right there. For instance, there's a scene where there's a church full of black people, black and brown people, and they all get slaughtered by in this case, I think it was like the Klan. There's a scene where a brother's being dragged from a motorcycle down the street, which to me was a direct nod to what's my brother's James Byrd Jr. Who that happened to in real life. Go do your Googles. To me that wasn't no coincidence. They threw them little things in there. They were like, yo, hey, this is real horror this is horror to us if you woke about it. So anyway, go back to Antpooh though and give his thoughts on it.
Yeah, now there were a couple of characters that I absolutely hated, but that's the brilliance of the film because they did put those characters out there. The main character, I think her name was Nyla. She had this brother that she was caring for, Isaiah. Bruh, I'm just saying, bruh, man, I thought Tariq would be the most hated black child this week from Power. This dude, I'm just like, it's like, okay, he's tired of struggling in the projects. I get that. I've never been in the projects, but shit looks dreary as hell. He decides he wants to be slang drugs for Dimitri's crew. He gets sliced up by this dude, this crazy fucked up dude named Skeletor, and says, okay, I'm a Purge now. Somebody you can give me a gun and $5,000. I'm like, dude, as you're saying, as far as this being horror, if the government is going to give you $5,000 to commit any crime, red flag. Red flag, because the government got money, and this fool just being stupid as hell. They had a ton of symbolism in this film. There was a scene with the church. We'll get into that at Hot and Heavy, which probably got white people all up in their feelings as well. They had black people throwing rave twerking parties during the Purge. Maybe they didn't understand what the hell was going to pop off, but still, why the hell you out in the streets being a target instead of holding up and handling your business? But overall, when you get to the end where it's Dimitri's crew versus the race soldiers, that's when shit pops off. And yes, they have a Hitler analog. There's one dude looking straight out of Hitler with the gimp from Pulp Fiction's mask on, walking floor to floor, murking everybody in the projects. Yeah, okay, you know what? I take it back, Mike. You're right. That is some horror scary.
Yeah, man, that's just scary as fuck.
Can you imagine struggling like a motherfucker in a Staten Island project, and then race soldiers come in killing everybody? Shit.
I'm telling you, that was some horrific shit, man. But that's why I was gonna say, a lot of times people are uncomfortable. That's why, you know, when I always talk about horror genre, I'd be like, yeah, you know, the Freddy Kruegers and stuff, that doesn't really scare me. Those movies are almost kind of funny, you know, because it's like, oh, let's figure out how the cool way that they can kill somebody. I mean, that's really kind of sick, actually. But the real horror movies be those ones where they be like, you know, kid get abducted or something, or like even the first Saw and stuff like that, like, or the real, more like that can really happen. Those are the ones that be scary to me, because it's like, yo, man, that type of shit can happen. But those are movies people be uncomfortable to watch because it's too real. You know, it's not fun. For some people, it ain't fun. But I'm like, but that's horror, though. You know, so I mean, this movie, man, I want to make sure that you get your final thoughts on this before we go dive into the story specifics, Antpooh. Oh, I guess you got it all. Sorry about
that. I had to unmute. My final thoughts, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. It was a fun ass movie. They had some great nuanced characters. I mean, yes, they had some tropey stuff with the drug dealer, with the dumbass little brother, but I mean, it all made, in my opinion, it all made sense. And at the same time, when you go to a horror movie, you do want to shout at the theater like, this dumb nigga. This dumb. You want. I'm sorry. That was made for. Yeah, it's the Purge, and the Purge has been. I think all 4 movies have made over $500 million, I believe, or at least close to it. So this one might have been some fan service to the black community, and they knew exactly what they were doing by having those moments where you just like, man, especially at the end when we think the crazy ass crackhead Skeletor is gone, and woo, we get the jump scares of all jump scares.
Yeah, man. So let's set up a little bit what this movie is about and what's going on. And also, I got to say, shout out to the director, Gerald McMurray, his brother. He directed that movie, Burning Sands. That's on Netflix, about the black fraternities.
Yeah, that was some creepy shit.
And that movie is to me, but he did direct it, and I think he was also a producer on Fruitvale Station as well. So they brought him on to direct this. It also stars, if I say his name right, Wylan Nolan as Dimitri. He also plays on Insecure. He was the guy that Issa Rae's character cheated with.
No. He's the one who gave her the eye poke.
Yeah, I mean that too. But saying it's that brother. He stars in this movie. And let me say this about him. In my opinion, if it was up to me, he should be the next whatever action hero. If they're gonna do a new Blade or something, that's the guy, man. Like, to me, he just oozes the charisma, the whatever you want to call it, the swagger. I think he is perfect on screen, and he just has a lot of character about him. That's that dude right there, man. I thought he nailed this character and being the action hero and all that. The other star of the movie is Lex Scott Davis. If you did see Superfly, she was the young lady that was the lead in that. And she did her thing. She was cool. She kind of plays the activist type sister, and Demetrius is basically the Nino Brown type drug dealer dude, but they were both used to be boyfriend and girlfriend. And then Naya's younger brother is the other characters. Marissa Tomei is in this movie. She plays they call her the architect. She is the lady that creates the actual concept of the purge. She's the one that comes up with the whole thing, but she's strictly on like some scientific type, let's just see the data type stuff.
She's Margaret Sanger.
Hilarious. I'm going to get to her character too. But to set this whole thing up, so the thing is, they have this thing called the New Founding Fathers. They have basically the NFFA, the New Founding Fathers of America. So they are neither Democrat nor Republican. They kind of play as like that may be like sort of on some Trump type of organization that came through, and they are the top dominant sort of form. They rule America. The president is a part of that. And I guess what they did is they changed the amendments. I think they added the 28th Amendment, which outlines having the purge, right? But this is the first one. So they basically are looking at the state of America, and they show a lot of real world footage of, riots and different things, protests that are going on, and the economy is down, the stock market is crashing, and they're like, what are we going to do? And they like basically saying our whole political thing is built on, we got to change America, right? And make it somewhat great again, right? So what we're going to do is come up with this thing to bring down the crime. And it's an idea that they got. You can see that they're getting some pushback from other countries and in the media questioning, is this thing good for America or bad? They even got Van Jones in this movie as a reporter for some like fake ass CNN news station talking about this in the news. And we see the news clips about this, and they're interviewing people. Is this, they call it the experiment. Is this a good thing to have? How is this going to help the nation? Or are you only just targeting low income people? And so the idea is that they're going to have this purge on Staten Island. And it's only going to happen on Staten Island. Again, I keep calling it the purge, but it's not called that. It's called the experiment. And so their thing is they actually are going out to Staten Island. They got like these trailers out there, and they're doing psychological evaluations on the people to see if they want to be involved in this experiment. And they're basically coming to these low-income people saying, listen, we'll pay you $5,000 if you stay on Staten Island during the experiment. And then they're like, we even pay you more if you want to participate and go out and do some crimes or whatever. We'll give you more money. And the question is, again, you got to look at it. And I would say this, for a lot of people, $5,000 ain't shit. But for a huge percentage of people in that particular area, $5,000 is a lot of money. They got multiple kids possibly, or they don't have jobs. They're in the ghetto. They might say, well, we'll give you $5,000 just to stay here. Stay in your home for 5 Gs. People going to sign up for that. And then they was like, the question was, well, if I take the money, how you know if I don't take the money and leave? Well, they said, well, what we're going to do is give you this microchip that you can implant on yourself so we can track you. And then they said, better yet, if you really want to be a part of this, we'll give you these, contact lenses that you can put in your eyes that are actually broadcasting what you're doing so we can watch it.
Oh, hell no.
So it's some crazy stuff, man. But of course, a lot of people who need that 5Gs, they signing up. They know they're not going to go out there and do nothing, but that's $5,000, right? So that, to me, that was a very interesting sort of thing that they're doing. And that sort of leads why you got a lot of these people who stay behind during this time. So you have that. You have the lead character, the activist lady. She's actively protesting about this experiment. She thinks it's, evil and different things. And Dimitri, the drug dealer dude, he's all about his paper. He doesn't support the purge. He don't understand what it is. So he's very cautious, and he's like, yo, this looks like this on some bullshit. But what we gonna do, me and my crew, we not going nowhere. We gonna hold these blocks down and keep getting this money off these drugs. We're just gonna ride it out and see what goes on. But we're not gonna be out here participating. We're gonna be participating getting this paper. So he's very money motivated. And you can see the conflict between him and his ex-girlfriend, Naya, because they have this conversation at one point, and she said something that was pretty slick, but it was like real shit. She was like, this purge thing is killing our people. It's going to be this 12-hour thing, but I don't know what, but she's like, but you do it every day. You killing our community every day selling drugs. So you ain't no better. Which was very interesting to me, and it made him kind of pause about it, because it's like, damn, kind of got a point. So
it had him shook.
Yeah, and so some things started happening, and you get closer to that time, and basically a lot of people are just going to go, one of the refugee places to go would be the black church, right? Let's go. We're going to go to the church. The minister, he going to be preaching, and we just ride it out in the church. We have a couple people at the door, and we're going to be safe there, because we know a lot of people going to take that money and going to want, but because they need it, but they're not going to go out there and do no robbing and killing. So they're going to be at the church. And then, of course, and this is why I say they showed some good and some bad, but I thought it was some truth. There was a purge party, right? One of the characters is out there like, yo, my nigga, they got a purge party down here. And I was like, what? Yeah, nigga, it's going down. And I guess it was like, again, I see this as reality, and it's it's some true damning things for us as black folks. But a lot of us would take that money, and a lot of us would trick that money off, right? So, oh, nigga, I got 5 G's. It's on. Let's get a party going, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get the music banging. We're going to have a street party in the street. They're going to be out there twerking, drinking, doing drugs. And that's exactly what it was. It's literally about to be on it's an experiment. Again, they don't know the magnitude of what's going to pop off because it ain't never happened, but they know it ain't nothing good. But what did a lot of those people do? They was literally out there twerking in the streets, turned up. And I was like, that's some real shit. I was like, because sadly, some of us do that today. You can go look at when they be having these so-called protests out in the streets, when we see people get murdered, and they be some clowns out there buck dancing, twerking, or singing a song, the hit song or something. So it's that same type of mentality. So they show that in the movie. I was like, you know what? That's probably what would happen. It was interesting that the government, they monitoring this whole thing because they got drones out flying over the streets. And of course they can see people's eyes. They was even like, they party. What the hell? They're supposed to be, tearing shit up. Why they partying? But I was like, that's how we do. Some of us will be like that. Now, the party goes sideways because, as Ant mentioned, there's this character called Skeletor. This is who he was to me. You remember Omar from The Wire? Yeah. Omar's his name rang out when Omar coming. Skeletor was the super cracked out fiend that all of the dealers knew. Oh man, Skeletor, man, man, that dude wild, but go ahead and he'll be a loyal customer, but watch out for that cat. So he was already crazy, and he's actually one of the first people you see in the movie during the interview thing with him and one of these scientists. And Skeletor is also he's always Omar, and he's also Cheeseburger from Menace to Society. Now dial your mind back. Remember Cheeseburger? Man, I suck your dick, man. He's that dude, but he's like 1,000 times those guys. So he's super coked up, shermed up, cracked out, And so he's a killer. He's sick. And he has already assaulted the activist chick. When Ant said he was out there slinging dope, you know, the best way I think about this, they had some of the wire elements in it because they had the corner boys, you know. So when her brother was out there slinging dope, they make you think he's about to go to work or go to school or something, but he goes right out there in them streets. When he's out there trying to slang, who was his first customer? Skeletor. And Skeletor was coming up to him like, yo, so you know, he knows that you new out here. Well, I'm about to give you a ringing endorsement. But he starts saying some slick shit like he knows his sister. Like, I see your sister. She's sexy. You know, I'm about to get her. And he's talking crazy. And Homeboy's like, can we get the fuck away from me? Skeletor pulls out a blade and slices old boy's neck. Like, tries to kill him. It's crazy. And then he takes off running. So that sets off that, you know, the younger brother. The reason why he gets out there to purge because he's really trying to find Skeletor to get his revenge. But they even telling him why he's out there. He runs across some of his other boys and they're like, man, you need to leave Skeletor alone, homie. That motherfucker is crazy. You ain't ready. And they like basically, yo, let's just go to this party, man. Roll with us. And this is during the purge time. So niggas is out there in the streets. And at that party, Skeletor sees the party. He comes out there and he looks crazy. He got, I don't know if he got tats. He got tats on his face. He looks sick, man. And he even has like this weird Wolverine like claws, but it's made out of hypodermic needles.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Which is crazy unto itself, right? And he walks into the party and everybody's turned up. Hey, you know, the music bumping and, you know, girls in there dancing and twerking. And he gets right up in there and the girls start freaking up on him. He's like, yeah. Shit.
Yeah, I thought for a minute he was like, man, fuck this purging. Shit. Let's get this ass, son.
But anybody who's looking at him can see like that nigga look like a fiend. He looks crazy. And he starts killing. He starts stabbing people up and it's going down. Now, let me back up a little bit. And we're spoiling this. There's a scene early on when it first when the sirens go off and it's the purge is just starting. This is the realest shit too. There was a brother walking down the street, and this is what I always say: if the purge was real, why would they be doing all that killing? Because I was like, we're not gonna be out there killing folks. You know what we're gonna be doing? Pulling licks. Okay. Well, what that means? We're gonna be going to the bank.
Yep.
We're gonna hit them banks. Nigga, meet me at Sound Credit. We about to get this bread, bruh. So they showed this brother. He saw the ATM machine. He's like, I'm about to get this money. And I was like, you know what? Go on ahead. Cause I'd be right behind. And he ends up getting stabbed by that Skeletor dude. Dude just runs up on him and just shanks him out in the street. But the interesting thing is, it was being recorded through the dude's eyes, and I think I don't know if they had the drones was recording it as well. But the government was monitoring this, and they were like, "Oh, we got our first kill. Go ahead and run that to the media and blast that on the stream." They wanted people to see that it was working. Like, oh, here we go, the first kill. The purge, and they blast that out on TV. And what they're showing brothers killing each other. Like that was the thing. They wanted that. They needed that footage. It's like, see, there they go. This is what we're talking about. And I was like, you know what? If that was real, they would really do that. I was like, that's World Star. That's all that. But I was like, yeah, that's that. Well, man, the man's like, you playing to the devil's plan, man. Nigga, what's the devil's plan? I was like, well, the movie right here, they showing that to you. So they already put that image out there, and there's a lot I can say. I would say this, man. Some of the damning things that just jumped out at me was when they realized that the people of color were not purging like they wanted them to. You know, the stats wasn't high enough, and they was getting worried back at the headquarters. They were, monitoring and said, "Yo, this is a failure." You know, they're not killing each other. Like, what's going on? They partying. And Marissa Tomei's character, she was a scientist, right? She wasn't affiliated with the founding fathers. She was only working for them, and they was basically funding her experiment. She just wanted to let it play out however it plays out. The founding fathers and the government, they wanted to see the killing so that they could roll this thing out and they could use this to help them politically. And so, you know, you could see like the government dude that was there with her, he was getting stressed. He's like, yeah, this shit's not working. He's on the phone with somebody. He was the man sitting next to the man. He was on the phone with the real man. He was like, yo, we need to turn this purge shit up. This ain't it. And so what ends up happening is, if they see that the people of color is not killing each other, they go ahead. They had some outside militia type mercenary groups in waiting to get things sparked up. So what they end up doing is they end up bringing in these mercenaries, and that's when the movie turns onto a whole other situation, because now you got these groups, these different gangs rolling through the hood, slaughtering people, killing, and you see these types of instances in the previous movies. You saw, they keep asking, why is it like, it seems like there's a military force that's coming through slaughtering people. It ain't just regular people doing crimes. There's something else going on. Well, here is showing you why they're doing that. So they bring in the Klan, right? They bring in some Aryan Nation type cats, and then they bringing in like some Nazi type group type dudes, and they armed to the teeth, and they just start hitting up places because they know where people is at, right? Because they got them tracked with them chips, and they got these drones flying around, so they know where people is at. So they just systematically just start killing people. They go to that black church, murdering them all, kids, families, old folks. It don't matter. They're getting wiped out. There's a scene where they show a brother in a baseball field, and the police, they dress as police, beating his ass to death in the baseball field. There was a scene where
I got the symbolism. Got the symbolism on that.
A brother was being burnt alive. And as I said earlier, they was dragging the brother down the street from the back of a motorcycle. It was some wild shit. And what ends up happening is the drug dealer character, he's with his boys. I'm not going to give you all what goes on with him, but at a certain point, they come across one of these groups, and they get the better of them, and they check their bodies, and they see they had these tattoos on their neck. And one of the drug dealer dudes, they let you know he was in the military. He's like, yo, man, this is some Blackwater shit, man. We saw this shit overseas. This is the same cats. These ain't street gangs, man. There's some other shit going on. And that's when they realize, yo, that purge, this whole experiment thing, they really here to take us out, man. This ain't some let everybody do crimes. There's some other shit going on here. And then the drug dealer cast was like, yo, we ain't gonna let them take our streets, man. And so they were like, well, yo, we're gonna go get our guns. It was very interesting. I don't know if you caught, when they went back to their little hangout where they had all these guns, they was like, yo, where did you get all these? How the fuck you get all these weapons? And they're like, remember, I told you some new shit been hitting the streets, and we've been tooling up, nigga. My man was like, oh, so the government been putting these guns out here, but they thought we was gonna shoot ourselves with them, but we gonna take these motherfuckers and turn it on them. And so that's when I thought that I started getting hyped, man, when I was watching the movie, because I was like, yo, there was like 2 or 3 cars deep full of niggas that was going to ride, but they wasn't riding on other black folks. They was going to ride on these outside forces that was coming in. And to me, that was some shit you don't normally see. When they was saying, man, why gangbanging on each other? Y'all seem like y'all kind of like militaried a little bit in a loose type of way, but y'all just killing each other. In this movie, I always pull a line from my man Ice Cube's, just think if niggas decide to retaliate. I just thought it was kind of dope to see a car full of men who just said, you know what, let's just get on code, man. Fuck it. We've been tearing the community down. let's just go ahead and get on code, and we just gonna protect the neighborhood. And then the movie turns into, like I said, man, there's a scene in there where it's like somebody throws a smoke bomb on the race soldiers, and they're like, what's going on? And them cats come through the night like they on some Batman, super commando forces. They getting it in, man. I was cheering. I was like, this shit is dope. And, you know, cat had the knife, swooping and doing all this karate shit. I was like, I don't know how they know how to do it, but I'm here for it, motherfucker. This shit was dope. And that's when they just kind of start going to different places and taking back the streets. Now, there's a thing that happens with some drones. You know, them drones, man, they're flying around. These drones have machine guns on them. And they get to cutting cats down. I was like, damn. Took the whole squad out. You know.
Yeah, I was hella pissy that old girl went out too, who was badass.
Yeah, she is, and I don't know her name off the top. She's actually a rapper. She's on one of these reality shows. That chick. Saya, yes. Yeah, she did her thing in this movie, man. But yeah, there was a scene where the drones took out that whole squad. It was, again, this is not a perfect movie. There's a lot of bullshit in this movie. Because at that scene, when the drones start shooting, Demetrius hides under the car. He jumps under the cars, and his other buddies, you know, the drones get the drop on him. But right as the last bullet goes out of the drones, this fool gets right from underneath the ar and start looking around like, bro, how you know they ain't going to just start shooting again? Because the drone's just kind of sitting there. I was like, that's that little bullshit movie. But it was very, I was like, damn, what are you going to do now? You know, he took out the whole squad. But again, he had to go rescue his girl, right? The activist chick. And she was back at she went back home. Somebody got their thing too loud. She was back home at the housing project with some of the other characters. You know, there's an assortment of characters, right, in these movies, and they all sort of band together. So she had made it back to the house, and they were just going to hole up in their apartment till the purge was over. But little did they know, they sent a death squad to the housing projects, and they started from the bottom to the top. They was systematically going from door to door and just kicking the door in. It's probably like 5 or 6 highly armed cats on some old Nazi shit and just slaughtering black folks. I mean, just spraying them up, going door to door. I was like, yo, this is some scary shit. And they up on the 14th floor, and they're just making their way up. And this is when the movie just turned into some John Rambo, because the Dimitri, he was by himself. He just went ahead and got all his gear, put on the wife beater, and it's like, it's time to go to work. And he just started from the bottom floor, made his way up, and he was on his Wesley Snipes. He was on his The Winter Soldier. He was on all that shit. He was taking cats down. He was taking out these Nazis. That shit was badass, man, until it all just came to a head when they get up front. And that's why I said, hey, man, bravo, because on the action tip, it was doing some shit. But this movie, man, to me, it just got me hyped, because it was just good to see us as some heroes. Even if the characters themselves were problematic. He was a drug dealer, you know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't the good guy per se, but when it all came down to it, where it was like, they don't see us, they didn't differentiate between the drug dealer, black person, and then just regular civilians. It was, no, you're all black, so you all gotta die. And I just thought it was dope that he was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna put aside my foolishness, and I'm gonna go ahead and get on code and help these people, because who else? Ain't nobody else here. Definitely, they'll say, these are streets, man. These are home. Who else gonna come in here and save us? They come in here to slaughter us. Don't matter if you got your pants sagging or not. they taking out kids. So I like that they showed them, like, I'm gonna put my life on the line for these people, even though I've been killing this community for years. Now I'm about to straighten up. I just thought that was an interesting sort of thing to see. But yeah, man, this was an interesting movie, man. I don't know if where the Purge goes after this. But I damn sure know that this one here was a real one to me, man. Again, it had its faults, but I just thought it was a damn good movie, and there was a lot of interesting things that it showed in there. I know there's a lot of things I missed in my breakdown, but there was a lot of symbolism. There was a Trump part in there, right, Ant? They kind of gave a little shot at Donald Trump. Yeah. There's a part where, again, it's people doing stupid stuff. Why you out there in the streets? I'm gonna go rescue my brother. He's halfway across town, but I'll go get him. Okay. And she running, going through the streets at night, and it's experiment night, and it's already craziness. But this dude busts out from the sewer or something. He had like a baby mask on. It was some weird shit. And he started pulling her down into the sewer by her legs, but her legs are open, and his hand is like kind of around her crotch. You know what I'm saying? Tapping on her, and she ends up pulling out some mace, I believe, and sprays him and gets away. But as she's running, she says, "Well, you pussy grabbing motherfucker."
Whoops.
I was like, they going at Trump.
What was funny about it too is that the baby looked like a gag was in his mouth.
Yeah, it was some weird stuff, man. But
you kind of
go ahead.
You kind of overlook one of the first fuckery types by the black people. So, Capital was it Capital K? Or what was his name? The drug dealer's a boy, Capital A. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He was told, "Hey, this is what we gonna do. We gonna maintain our blocks. We gonna keep it bunkered down because somebody might try to move in on us." And he tried to say, "No, I want to go out there and purge." And that's when old girl Blaze, which is a dope name by the way, Blaze. She put a 2-piece on him real quick and got him in line. But he still went out there and he decides, I'm going to rob this place. It wasn't the bank. It wasn't a car. Shoot, it wasn't even a Costco. Load up on all the supplies.
To hunker down. I forgot about this. Yes.
This fool went to the jewelry shop. And was going to get iced out. I was like, I
thought it was a gun store.
No,
but
it was jewelry.
Okay.
I paid attention to that. Gotcha. I was like, get
well, you know what? You're right. But you know what? See, that was real because niggas is going to be niggas. And he was a real nigga, and I'm not saying that in a good way. I'm saying like cats, there's dummies that would do that, right? It's a flood out here. I'm gonna get this TV. We're gonna get our loot on. Like, bro, it's a flood out here. What are you doing? Nah, man, that's the same. So that was that same mentality. They gonna take us out in the streets. Now I'm gonna get my jewelry on. And then he tried to make a move on the organization, right?
Yep.
And they took. Hey, he got dealt with. Dimitri wasn't. Again, he wasn't nobody to fuck around with, man. I thought they was going to do a Hollywood style and he was just going to let them go. I'm like, you tried to move on me, man. Next time I see you. Nah, he was handing out judge, jury, execution in these streets. Cause he was like, I'll be damned if you're going to mess with me. And that's why I say he wasn't necessarily a good dude. He was probably a good hearted dude, but he had been tainted by the game and he allowed himself to go down a dark road. Cause it was interesting. If you actually look at the scene where Naya comes to visit him and they're talking, and that's the scene where she says, you're always killing us by being a drug dealer. If you look at the pictures that are on the back of the wall, there was a picture of a boxer knocking somebody out.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I was like, that's his mentality. But when they show it from her, when you showed her, and the camera was on her, there was a picture behind her, and there was a brother deep in thought. And I was kind of like saying, what? I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but I could see how they're trying to show their opposing sort of viewpoints. He's all about violence to solve his problems. And she was about, this is another way. Let's think something through. Because that's when she comes to him about her younger brother being a dope dealer under Dimitri. Dimitri doesn't know that though, but he's like, Skeletor that crackhead who fuck with your brother, I got that. Don't worry about that. I'm gonna handle that. And she's like, what you gonna do? Kill him? But it was like that was him as a character. He was about that, putting in that work. He was about that. Like he was that life, and and it was just interesting that they was able to take his violence and turn it to actually fight for good as opposed to killing his own people. I just thought there was a lot of little things in there I just thought very interesting that they threw that in there. Marissa Tomei's character, that's what I wanted to say. So now for me, she was kind of on some liberal type shit. And some of y'all can get triggered as I say this, but it is what it is. She was like, I want to just do this experiment. She wasn't necessarily playing sides, and she was like, I just want to see an honest thing. I think this would be good psychologically, how it would affect people. She wanted to see. And then as she realized that the founding fathers had ulterior motives for her experiment, and she realized they the ones who sent the militia groups in there, because as they were watching the data originally, they were like, okay, these people aren't killing each other. They're having a good time. And then they was even commenting on the masks, like, why are they wearing the masks? And she said something that's very telling for the rest of the series. Well, people putting those masks on because they feel ashamed to be out here doing these crimes. That's why nobody's out there purging with no mask on. They all covered. And you kind of see that in the other movies of why they had those masks on. But to me, once she realized, and she's looking at the stats, and she says, the stats are going up all of a sudden. What happened? Where are all these gangs coming from, right? And so, and she finds out where those gangs come from, and she's confronted by the founding father dude, and he's like, yo, you thought this was just on some experiment shit? Yo, this is an agenda. We need this to go down for our political movement. Damn your little, I just want to see how the people react type shit. You didn't know what the fuck you was getting yourself into. He basically was saying, welcome to the real world. Mm-hmm. But and then she, there's a scene where he walks up to her because he finds out that she's been spying and backtracking. He's like, they'll remember you as a patriot or some shit like that. And I was like, man, that's a very ominous thing for him to say as he walks out the room.
Yep.
And there was those dudes, his little hired dudes was in there. I was like, oh, they about to kill her. But it's very interesting that you see later through a video camera footage that she left that building, right? Now you also see that they took her ass out as she was walking outside. But here's the thing that's interesting to me. So they didn't kill her inside the room like they kind of play it. So they see her leaving. Now my thing is this. A lot of some people like her will always be like, oh, I'm a good person. I don't want to see nothing bad happen to nobody. But see, her actions and her little things she came up with obviously gets mad people killed. All these series of movies is based off of things she started. But what she walks out that room. I want to know, what was she going to go do? Well, she would just be like, oh, well, this is not good. That's just too bad. Or like, but no, you the one caused this situation. Was she like, did she have remorse? Or was it just another day? That's unfortunate, but I'm going to go back to my scientific work. But the thing is, she probably could have exposed everything, and maybe that's what they was scared she was going to do. So they took her ass out. Now, I will say, the way they show it is kind of corny, because in my opinion, that was her last scene that they shot, was when the guy said, what do you say? They're going to remember you as a patriot. And then they cut. That was probably the last scene Marissa Tomei shot, because the scene where they show her get killed is from some video footage, close cam type footage, but you never see her face. So I always think they did that at a reshoot, and they couldn't get her to come back. So they just shot it that way. And they was like, you know what? We got to let people know that she actually got smoked. So let's film this scene to see that she actually, and not just like implied, they had to actually show her get murdered, because they show her getting her head blown off by like guys surround her and savagely shoot her down in the streets. I think they did that on purpose to really ram it home. Like, she got bodied. It ain't no implied and leave it open ended where she might have got away. I think they wanted you to know she got murked savagely, and they just sacrificed her ass for the greater good of their agenda.
Like Tariq said, the white supremacy will always have a sacrifice.
I kind of was like, because they didn't have to show that, and it's obvious they didn't get her back to do it. But it was just, man, I don't know. That movie was very interesting, man. I'm curious, after all the stuff that you've heard, Big Sexy, man, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, a couple things, just immediately leap out. The first is, you guys talked about the imagery, and again, I have not seen the film, but you talked about the imagery of the cops beating this guy in the field, in the park, right?
It's like in a baseball field.
Yeah, baseball field.
Yeah.
Now, when I heard you describe that immediately, and again, I have not seen it, took me back to the footage of Rodney King.
You could bring that to mind, yeah.
Because that's what, just in my mind's eye, that's what I'm seeing. Now, the people who stayed and participated got 5,000. Like you said, 5,000 ain't a lot to a lot of people. But the tech they gave them, we can put a little chip on you, or you can take these contact lenses. Those contact lenses must be worth much more than 5 large. That's just me.
Well, now, yeah, exactly.
Now also, you have people out there in the streets doing the twerking and whatnot, but at the same time, why wouldn't you just hunker down and hit a bank or 4? You tool up, get your stealth on, stay along the rooftops, hit a couple of banks, go back to the house, and just lock it down. That's all you need to do. And
that's something that's funny. I actually have a list of, like, what would you do for the purge, right? And I have rob a bank. And it's almost like you're not robbing the bank, because if the purge said all crime is legal.
It's legal.
So it's not right. So I'm like, okay. And then I was thinking stupid. I was like, I don't know where you guys live, but here they have like staging areas where, like, for car lots, they'll have where the cars that come off of, the trains or ships, when they bring in the new lot of cars, and they stage them. I'm like, nigga, we would just get a couple of the homies. We're going to go to those car lot places, because the keys just be right there. We're going to go ahead. Once the purge start, niggas start lining them cars. We're going to drive them all down to the crib, park them. And the next day we open up a car lot, my nigga, we're going to get paid. And it's legal. But see, they wouldn't do that. And then the other thing I was doing, of course, the looting would be out of control if the purge was real. Because I'd be like, okay, where's the Apple store? They better have that bad boy boarded up. Because right when the first horn rings for the them doors is going down. Load it up.
Okay. I'm going to get on my financial literacy here. The day before the purge, I'm flying to wherever TransUnion, Experian, or Equifax is, and I'm burning that bitch down.
Hilarious. Well, they're going to have backups.
And Navient. Done.
Yeah. We be hitting up Best Buy, Target, all that. But I was like, what really... And it would be like a year-round hustle. It'd be like, yo, purge is coming up. It's time to get your stuff for the next, because we're going to sell all this shit on eBay through the rest of the year, and you got to work. So what we're going to do, we're going to find out where the Amazon warehouses are. We're going, and you already know, all the U-Hauls going to all be reserved up. Oh, man, everyone's reserved a truck for purge night. Well, you got one more truck left. So, yeah, man, we got, because we're going, I found where the Amazon thing, I got it. So we're just going to ram the truck through the garage and load up. And it's legal. And
let's think about this, though. Let's think about this. Going back to the bank, the bank would be a bad move now that you think about it, because at the end of the day, all the money goes in the vault. And people aren't going to have time to try to get in that vault. That ain't going to happen. So the banks are pretty much out. Now, you also want to avoid drawing attention to yourself. So places like Apple Store, Best Buy, Retail outlets, no, stay away from that. Car dealership.
Well, you don't have to worry about drawing attention because there's no cops. It's all legal.
No, it's not about the cops. It's about people jacking you for getting jacked.
Hey, this is the purge night. It's big eat the little. Like
exactly. So you need to be on the low, under the radar. I like the idea of the car dealerships. You go over there, get a couple of car carriers, set up a little place indiscriminate away from all the hoopla. In fact, you may want to go a step further, have two groups. One group over there doing the grift, the other group in retail locations starting shit, drawing attention away from what you're really doing.
Look at Mark over here.
Got it all planned out.
But see, I already know what's going to get really looted within the hood. The dispensaries. Them motherfuckers will be done.
Man. Yeah, they hit those up. Like I said, right? The first horn. They have them bad boys.
You can do this the easy way or the hard way, Habib. Which way do you want to play it?
But that's funny that you mentioned that because that was one thing they showed in this movie when Isaiah when it first went down, the horns went through. He's walking down them streets by those stores, and a lot of them cats was tooled up outside their store. Like, keep walking, motherfucker. Get the fuck away from here. It reminded me of that South Central, riot when those were
the
going
Koreans.
down.
Yeah,
there was a lot of cats sitting outside. They was ready for the shits. Like, let's get it.
And see, again, that's something else you need to have because once we get all the cars set up, we need to lock them down, and we need to have Q and his, ilk out there tooled up, ready to go.
Q ain't gonna do shit. I'm just playing with you. But yeah, man, and which is, as you see the other movies, even the first movie starts off. There's a whole industry of purge insurance and purge security on your house that has sprung up. And I think it was in one of the movies they jacked the rates up like the day before or something. And it's like, I'm not going to have no purge insurance this year. They charge a whole bunch of money. So it's like all these things have sort of come up because of it. But, yeah, man, First Purge, man, it's just very interesting movie. Again, I'm not saying it's like super thought provoking and, this is, it is a B movie, but it doesn't try to be nothing but that, in my opinion. It's got cheesy shit in it. Some of the dialogue is cheesy, but it has a lot of action. It has horror tropes. It's got hood movie tropes in it. To me, this is actually a hood movie. Then they threw a horror thing on top of it. And you don't really get to see that very often. Because, again, it has some elements of The Wire in terms of the Corner Boys type stuff. It's just all that kind of shit in it, man. So I say go check it out, man. It's worth a view. I think Ant hit at one thing. This was probably the most entertaining movie to watch with the crowd of people. Because I know they'd be yelling at the screen a lot of this stuff that's going on in here. But, yeah, man, any last words on the First Purge?
Nah, I'm with it. Hopefully they keep that same quality for the next one. And at the same time, the subliminals, because there's something in there for everyone that's looking for something. If you're looking to be conservative, it's there for you. Liberal is there for you. Black, there for you. You white supremacist, you can live out your dreams through that too. So I'm just saying, you're gonna be heated at the end, but
they ultimately win in the grand scheme. They ruling.
Even when they lose, they win.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very interesting scene like when Dimitri is in the housing projects and he's working his way up the floors to catch up with that kill squad. There's some of the race soldiers that he comes across. One of them is in blackface, and there's a big fight scene with him. And I was very interesting to me because Demetrius literally gets that guy on the ground and is choking the shit out of him, and he is such in a rage. And this guy has got on this black face, coon face thing on his face, and ends up snapping his neck. He's like, get the fuck out of my neighborhood. And that was a powerful scene to me. For some people, that might be, I heard some people say, man, this movie is just too blatant, or it's just too like ramming it down your face symbolism. But I don't have a problem with that. I actually absolutely have no problem with that, because they're trying to point something to you, and I don't care if it's blatant. Why can't it be? There's a lot of movies that have blatant shit in it. They don't have the same energy for that. But I just think sometimes for some people, this movie may hit. I don't know if it hits home, but it just make you a little uncomfortable, because it's like, man, why they gotta make me look like the bad guy? But see, my thing is, we've been saying that for years. Why the black guy gotta be the
True?
Why we gotta be the such and such? So hey, you didn't have the same energy for 95% of them other movies. So when they give you one movie where it's the other way, don't complain. Have the same. Hey, this is just a horror movie, or it's got political things like V for Vendetta. I don't see nobody complaining, oh, this movie is too political, overtones, this and that and the third. Is eating that movie up. So why can't we eat this one up? I mean, this movie obviously comes in a world after you had Black Panther. And there was another movie, Get Out. I can see how those movies play into them saying, you know what, we're going to make the Purge. It's okay. We're going to make the Purge. We're going along with what's successful right now. And they're like, yep, we're going to make it just like that. Because this movie is written by the same person who wrote all the other ones, who he also directed all those other ones. But he was smart enough to know, let me get a black man to direct this, actually. Because we're going to go a different direction. And let me get somebody who can probably see the nuances and add those into the movie that I probably couldn't do. And I think they did that right on. And I think I would not imagine if there's an interview with that director and they start asking him about this, he'd probably be like, yeah, I did that on purpose. Yep. You sure? Yeah, ain't no coincidence. Of course we put that in there. I'm trying to, this is horrifying to us, so we're going to put it in there. So I ain't got no problem with it. I'm going to go see it again, as a matter of fact.
I would actually like to watch the audio commentary on this, because I'd love to know, because it says that there's one writer on there, the same guy that did the other one, James Domenico, whatever. Sorry. But I just can't believe that so many, I feel, scenes and dialogue that spoke to the black community was in there, that there had to have been somebody else helping in on this.
That's why I say I think that Gerald McMurray dude, I think he added, they needed somebody that can go in and really, okay, here's the general idea of this movie, but put your, you don't only know how to do that. Put your thing on top of this. And that's why I said, I think he did that. Damn, I was like, yep, he got, because they're not going to put I'd be surprised if they wrote in I want him to have blackface, this dude, and then I want to have, these little things in there. I just don't think they would knew to do that or knew what they meant. Like, this is going to strike a chord with people if you have them do this. Make sure you had a scene where they dragging them by the motorcycle. Make sure you had a church, because I know that's right in the Dylan Roof. That's a chilling scene, man. To me, I was like, man, the black preacher place, that was supposed to be the safe haven. Not no more. And there was some other low key shit in this movie. There was one character I wanted to get killed, though. I'm not gonna lie. I don't remember her name. Was the loudmouth black lady? Know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
She was kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. I was like, you sit your Tiffany Haddish ass down. Just that. Hell no, man. Move. I was like, stop it.
Here's another question I got to ask. At the end, we're doing spoilers. Dimitri, he takes a one to the stomach. And I think oh man, come on, they not gonna take him out. I said, well, at least he saved his girl and his girl's brother, but dude survived. So me, I'm like, well, why the hell did he get shot? Like, come on, give us the bruh man that makes it all the way out unscathed. Commando did take one to the arm, but come on.
I was sad that he could, because I was like, yo, oh man, is he about to die? But I like that he survived that, because on one hand, I guess I probably would have been like, there's no way he'd have went through all of that and not got hurt some way. I was more surprised that his boy was standing alongside them at the end. That's why I was like, come on, bro. That bro was on the ground like he had got stabbed or shot by the drone. Now he up there walking with them. I was like, okay. I was like, whatever. He's in something else too. I just can't remember. I think he was in Sons of Anarchy or something.
The dude that got shot up?
His boy, yeah.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie, when he left it behind, I'm like, dude, if you're not gonna die, get your punk ass in the truck and have that sumbitch ready to go.
I actually, and so now we get in. There's a scene where these two girls are sent to kill the drug dealer. Listen, I thought when he came out after he's got the best of him, I thought he was gonna go to his boy and like beat his ass. Like, how you gonna send these bitches in here and didn't check, what was going on with? Because I thought he was gonna come at his boy hard about that, but they just laughed it off. Actually, his boy even made a joke about it when they was in the car. He's like, "Oh, you want to go get you some more girls?" He was like, "Man, you stupid." I thought he was gonna slap the shit out of him. Like, you supposed to? That's your job to have my back, bro.
See, this is why Capital A ain't the boss. Now, I'm not saying women can't kill somebody, but he had to have known Dimitri wasn't someone to fuck with.
Yeah.
So how you sending these two females in there who don't look like they didn't put in any work? I mean, well, I guess maybe they had, but I'm just saying, you really thought there would be I know it's two and they got the jump on them and they got knives, but I'm like, dude, come on. You really thought that was the play?
Yeah, see, that was Hollywood, because let's picture that in somewhat realistic terms. That would be like sending Amber Rose and Black China to take out a street cat. You know it damn well they would, because them chicks I thought they was like on some assassin types. I was like, how are they fighting him, right? And they doing all these moves like these hoes. But again, that's why I said this movie, it don't explain, because at the same point you would ask the question, how is Dimitri basically Batman all of a sudden taking cats down and all that? But I just let it ride, because I'm like, there's no way, again, you're not going to have some thoughts. You're not going to send thoughts on no mission to assassinate somebody, and they actually had a chance. It was so unrealistic. I just said, this is on some fantasy. I'm going to let that ride. Because they wasn't, because they had special training or something. Why would you become a thought if you had skills? Don't make no sense, right? Because it was like they was just there to F them. It's just like they make no sense.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, as far as Dimitri is and his skill set, the only thing I got is, remember the dude that was getting the guns who had been in the army? Right. Maybe he trained him. Maybe he gave him some hand-to-hand combat. That's the best I got, because dude seemed to be on point with knowing the army. He said he did a tour. He seemed to be connected. So I'm like, maybe he gave him the skills and he trained, like Blaze. She seemed to be able to handle herself. So maybe that's where he got that from.
Yeah, I thought maybe he was ex-military himself, which I started asking questions. I was like, well, so you was a military badass, some fucking special ops, but then you came back to move bricks. But again,
dude, do you know what they do with the veterans?
Well, that's true. That's maybe I ain't about their life, so I just said, hey, I'm gonna ride with it. It was exciting to watch. It ain't gotta. If Commando or if Bruce Willis didn't need to make no sense to me from the first Die Hard, how he was getting down, then this ain't gotta make no sense to me. I was just like, whatever.
Or what about Steven Seagal in Under Siege, the cook?
Well, he was special agent.
Check my pies.
I mean, yeah, he was, again, it was classic wrong one. It's that cat you didn't think was actually, some former badass in the military or something. But okay. I guess this is the same way, right?
Yeah.
He just decided, F this country, they fuck me, so I'm gonna fuck them. I'm gonna just move bricks and bring down the black community. Anyway, let me stop.
At least gonna move some meth, take them out.
This movie is hilarious. Anyway, yeah, man, go check it out. Yeah, and then the one thing that they did, I see some people think it's controversial. I didn't really think it was that big a deal, but the mid-credits scene in the movie was actually a trailer for the Purge TV show.
TV show.
Yeah, it's like I guess a 10-episode TV series, The Purge, and they showed that during the credits. I was like, okay, I'm gonna check it out. It said this happens 10 years from the first Purge, which I did some research. It would put it between the second movie and the third movie. So I'm curious to see what that's about. But yeah, there we go. I know. I wanted to. How much time? I wanted to talk about something else real quick. I always come back to this show because they always be on some fuck shit. The show Law and Order.
Dun-dun.
Listen,
Okay.
they always have some other stuff. So I'm gonna just set this up real quick. I'm not gonna make this long. There was this young lady. She was, I guess, like a prostitute, and she got beat up and possibly raped, right? And she, her body is found, and she doesn't want to press charges. She doesn't want to say who it was. She's just like, never mind, it is what it is. I got to get back to work. They tracked down the people who were in the hotel room with her. It was 3 guys. They come to find out that they were in the military. Can't remember how they figured this out, but they figure out these 3 guys are in the military. And she tells the prostitute girl, she says, well, I know I hit one of them upside the head with a lamp. So they're like, okay, we're going to go to the local military base here in New York, and we're going to see if there was anybody who reported needing some stitches Saturday night, the night that this happened. So they come to find out there was a person who came in and got some stitches. It was this black sergeant dude. And so Ice-T and one of the other characters, they go to see him at the military base. And at this time, he's, running exercises. He has a whole troop regiment under him. And he's like, okay, do that, do this and that. And so they come up to him and they're like, yo, can we talk to you about Saturday night? And he's like, what? And he's like, you know what? We're not going to do this in front of my troops. It's a chain of command. Let's go in a private room. So they get him in a private room. And dude, immediately, they said, what happened? He just goes, my name is John, serial number 3222. That's all he says. He's like, I ain't snitching. I ain't saying nothing. I ain't say I did nothing. I wasn't even there. I just my name and rank. So they're like, damn, this guy, he's not going to break. They come to find out one of this white dude underneath him, who's one of his subordinates, whatever, in his troop, he was there too. So they go to him and say, yo, we want to talk to you about Saturday night. We know something happened. We know that girl got raped. White dude's like, he's a young dude too. I did it. And they're like, huh? I did it. Go ahead and arrest me. So they book him and they take the picture back to the girl. And they're like, you sure you don't want to talk? We found we found the guy who said he did it. And they showed her the picture. And she's like, well, that's good. He did that, but he didn't rape me. He was there, but that wasn't him. He didn't do nothing. And they're like, well, why is this guy taking the fall for this? So they come to start talking to him a little bit. And they go back to the black dude. And he still ain't, I ain't do it. Blah, blah. And they have Ice-T character, since he's the black dude, they have him, listen, bruh, just talk to me, man. And then Ice, I was in special forces too. I know what goes down. We do a lot of dirt, but you can, confide in me, blah, blah, blah. Dude is like, I ain't do it. I ain't saying Nathan. We can just go to court. Then they come to find out, because there was 3 people there. So the girl finally starts talking a little bit, and she's like, there was an older dude that was there too. He's the guy who actually raped me. And so they find out that the commanding officer above both of these guys is this older white dude. And they get his picture and bring it to the girl. And they're like, was this the dude? And she's like, yeah, that's the guy who raped me and beat me. And so they're like, okay, we're going to bring these guys on trial. Now the prosecutor is like, this is going to be a hard one. You got one guy who's confessed to it, but these other two dudes and the guy who probably actually did it, they say they didn't do it. And they high ranking in the military. And you got a prostitute right here. He's like, the jury, and he's like, you ain't got no evidence. There's no DNA, ain't no rape kit. It's just going to be her word, a prostitute, with 2 American soldiers. He's like, it's going to be a tough one. So they go to the court, and the 2 guys plead not guilty, right? And so it's basically like, okay, this ain't going to work because they painting her out to be a liar. You know, the lawyer for the military dudes, he's a hard one. He's like, oh, so you're saying you got beat, but then they basically make her admit that she has rough sex at times, and they also have her admit that usually she charges extra if somebody want to slap her up. So it's not out the norm that they slapped her or whatever, and it was just rough sex. So this, prosecutor's like, fuck, we're going to lose this. So here's where Law and Order, they be on their shit. They always throw some funny shit in the story. So all of a sudden they go, well, we got some DNA back on the blood because, she hit that dude on the head. And that's the only DNA we got. But it doesn't match the DNA that's inside her or whatever. Or I don't know if there was no DNA, but it wasn't in her. It was just some blood. He said, but the funny thing about it, though, we're going to throw that DNA out because it's a female's DNA. I was looking at the TV. I was like huh? I was like, oh, well, then everybody's going to walk. And then they're like, wait a minute. The black dude got hit on the head and was bleeding. But the only DNA that was in there with the blood was female. Now, I don't know if you guys are listening to what I'm saying.
I hear it.
So they basically said that black dude who was a real masculine, he's a real black guy, he's a man, he's actually a transgender. Mm-hmm. I was like, what the fuck?
Today's headlines, man.
Yeah, man. And so basically they played it as the brother didn't want to come forward and say nothing because he would have to admit that he was actually a woman and his career in the military be over. And so then they try to pressure him to, well, you got to, because he's like, I'm not trying to save that dude. What he did was wrong, but I'm not going to throw away my career and my whole existence over this. They're like, but come on, they'll accept it. He's like, no, they won't. I have a troop underneath me. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, the president could say one tweet and I'm done. No one's going to trust me no more. And I was like, damn, this shit is crazy. I was like, so now the focal point is this black man who's actually a woman. I was like, here we go. And of course, it's Hollywood. So he ends up listening to the one white lady. She's kind of telling him it's going to be okay. And at first he's like, nah, I'm not going to do it. But of course, at the last minute, he go ahead and admit to it. That because the other lawyer dude is like, well, nobody else had sex with her except for this black guy here, so he would have to be gay. He's like, I'm not gay. Well, why wouldn't you have that? You already know where it's going. He's like, because I'm a woman or something. And so that's how they end up getting old boy for the crime, but he has to admit that he's a woman and he's pretty much done. I was just like, I'm done with this show. Why he got to be the one that's transgender? Why we got to be the face of the? And then what's the interesting thing is the young boy who admitted to it. He still admitted to the rape because he was like, "I'm not going out as a snitch." He's like, I'm going to lose either way. If I say, if I turn against my commanding officer, they're going to get me for being a traitor. These cats going to blow my head off in the jungles or in the desert out there. They're going to say it's friendly fire, or I'm going to be tried that I was there during this crime, and I'm going to go to Leavenworth and be labeled and discharged. Or I can just go and say I raped somebody, but I upheld being a soldier and I didn't snitch out, and I'll just go to prison. But I'm not going to, because he was basically, I'm on my America first. So I'll just I'll go to prison as a criminal, but I ain't going to be discharged as some fuckboy traitors. I was like, this dude stood his ground and was like, bucket, I'll take the L. And it was interesting. I'd be like looking at this. I'd be like, man, I want to. What's Ice-T be thinking about some of these parts? I know he'd be like, I get this check
again.
But it was interesting too. Last time I was, at first they had Ice-T's character was on, brother, tell me. But once he came out that he was transgender, he didn't have no scenes with him. I was like, Ice ain't stupid. Y'all not gonna have my image out here looking crazy.
They had to, again, today's climate, you can't, on a national network show, you cannot vilify a transgender, transsexual person. Can't.
Yeah, that's true.
That person had to stand tall and take one for the team. Because can you imagine the fallout if that character didn't do that?
Ooh. Yeah, my whole thing is, why did he even have to pull that card though? It was just so out of nowhere. I was like,
today's climate. They always say at the beginning of all the Law and Order shows, ripped from today's headlines, Yeah, but and that's what's going on nowadays, man.
Why did he have to be the brother though? I was like, okay. I was like, Law and Order, boy. They always be having us look kind of crazy on that show.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Send your hate mail to me. That's how they do it. They put the black person, specifically black man, out there to be the poster child, to take all the heat, to take all the vitriol, all the condemnation, all the to be laughed at, while in the background, the non-black, predominantly white, they get all the benefits and get all the power. I'm just saying it.
And that's why white people don't believe you.
If you take a look at it, let's put it this way. What's her name? Laverne Cox and Janet Mock. They're the face, the celebrity face of the transgender community. And I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on it, but from what I'm seeing, they're the ones who are always out there, on Front Street, doing the cause, always the face, told beautiful women. But the Wachowskis, the one who got the power.
Hilarious.
Who is Janet Mock?
I'm sorry. Okay.
She's an activist.
You woke her up, man.
No, she's an actor.
Yeah, she's an activist. She's written a number of books. She's been on a number of different shows, really pushing for trans rights.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're not shitting on Janet Mock or what's the other one? What's the other guys? I shouldn't say that.
See, there you go, Laverne Cox.
Laverne Cox. They do their thing. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just, and I don't know where you're coming from. I'm looking at a picture of Janet Mock right now. And all I gotta say is technology is a motherfucker. Because I guarantee you, if you was out and about and you saw Janet Mock, you would be like, yo, that's, and not as you should, but you'd be like, yo, that's a good looking sister right there. A lot of you, if you was in the club, depending on what situation you was, cats would be trying to, yo, I'm gonna have to go holler. But that's how I would say technology is something else, boy. Because before you could kind of see some of these feminine features, but I mean, just from these pictures I'm looking at,
and it's chess and checkers. You know, they're playing the game. And I say that they're putting them out there because they're the ones who are taking these hits. They're the ones who are being mocked and ostracized. While in the background, I'm sorry, I believe, you know, these white transgenders, they're just living their lives, accumulating their power, accumulating their money.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say? Everything but the burden?
There you go. There you go. Yeah, man. Brothers, be careful out there in the clubs now. It's a different world. Yo, man. Shit, they out here choosing, bruh. You be out there, you be at the bar. Yo, they out there choosing. They out here choosing, man. What you talking about? Yo, this little shorty over there, man. She just wanted, man, she came up to me, bruh. Oh, snap. You got a bad one. Yeah, man, they out here choosing. You want to go back to the crib. Oh, okay. Do your thing, playboy. Oh, let me hit the next day. Let me hit my man up and see what happened with that shorty. Hey, yo, Ant, man. Now, let me not use your name.
Wow. I'm a married man. Come on.
I'm gonna say, let me. Hey, yo, Tone, man, what happened? You good, bro? What happened? I know you got with old girl. Yeah. Yeah, man, I don't want to talk about that right now. She cool. Nah, man, come on, man. You know, if it was me, you'd be all, yeah, man. Man, you know, it's cool. Yeah, man, she was cool, you know. Nah, man, what happened, man? Come on, man. Tell me. I don't want to talk about it, man. Why you getting in your feelings, nigga? What happened, man? You couldn't keep it up or something? Nah, man. Yeah, that was a dude, bro. Huh? Yeah, don't tell nobody, man. That's between me. That's me and you, man. Bro code, man.
No.
It's true.
They actually did that on an episode of 90210 back in the day.
What? Really?
Really? The man Steve Sanders hooked up with this woman, quote unquote, and Brandon calls him the next day like, dude, what happened? He's all, I want to talk about it. He's all, what, you couldn't perform? He's all, I didn't want to perform. She's a he.
Wow.
He's a what? And he's all, if you tell anyone, I swear I'll hunt you down and beat you senseless.
Wow. Woo. I didn't know that. I missed that episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Steve was out there. He was a player.
He was out there.
Player of the group. But yeah, man, you gotta be careful out there these days. Like I say, cats get caught up. But anyway, I don't know how we got down that road.
Now, do you want to quickly, if you wish? I saw a article this morning. I believe you saw it as well, about Florida and people who have been felons trying to get their rights to vote back. Right.
I did see that. I think I posted that. Yeah, I think when the judges or somebody asked the guy how many baby mamas he
baby
had.
Mamas you got.
What the hell?
And he asked the other guy, you go to church? Well, not enough. We ought to go more. And I read the whole article. My first reaction was, you commit a felony, that's it. Too bad. But a lot of states, I believe Florida's only 4 at the state level that says once you've done a felony, that's it. You have to go through this process to reinstate your right to vote and get guns and do these other things that you lose when you commit felonies. And the author of the piece, and this kind of, and I'm not going to get mail on this, kind of discredits the piece in my view, isn't one who works in legal. She's a recent graduate, majors in creative writing and French. And you're trying to write on governmental issues? That's like me trying to write on the differences of, medical procedures. That's not my field. That is not my strength. So it's not going to carry as much weight as someone who actually does this for a living, because there were certain, I don't want to say inaccuracies, but certain things that were misstated to me, at least. That gave
was that judge out of order to be asking a question like that?
No, the judge is foul. Okay, the judge is straight foul. But the thrust of the piece, pause, shouldn't have been on the actual system and the things that, you know, a lot of these felons are facing. The thing is, this one judge, because before that judge got up on the bench, it was pretty routine for people to get their rights restored. This judge is, you know, going buck wild. This guy's, you know, doing cowboy, going to business for himself. Now, we just recently had the guy here in California recalled on the Stanford rapist case. You want to recall a judge? Recall that guy. Okay, recall that dude. But again, you know, when you commit a felony, that's just how it is. You know, going in, if you're going to try to get those rights back, you got to put in that work. Now, granted, that work shouldn't involve being asked about your baby mamas, if you have any or if you don't. But you need to know going in that you have to do some work to get it back. But this judge is out of pocket.
Yeah, the headline was crazy. I was just like, wow. But I know some brothers that would probably say some shit like that too. So, you know, it is what it is. Antpooh, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
I'm looking at a site that I look at often, Bossip.
Hey, at least you didn't say media takeout.
Oh no, that's trash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's trash. But you know, you scroll down here, there's a lot of funny stuff. But I just gotta give a shout out to, since it's a midday snack. This lady's a grandmother, Bernice Burgos.
Bernice, yes.
Yeah. That's very interesting.
I must ask, what has Miss Bernice done?
Do your Google. So I don't know what she does.
Oh, I gotta look.
It's more like who she does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was Rick Ross's fiance at one point.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yep. I don't know.
I just knew she had something to do with T.I. or something.
Sure, it was that. Yeah, I think so.
Go ahead.
That's
She
the
was.
grandmother?
Yep. I think she had her daughter at 16 or 18. And, you know, no disrespect, but like mother, like daughter, she had a young child. And I think she's, 36, 38, and is a grandmother. Fine to the motherfucker.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now that's going back to the movie, The Purge. That'd be like they sent her in to assassinate somebody. Like, come on, like, what's she gonna do? Hit him in the head with a booty cheek or something?
But she would have got the drop on me, though.
Here you go.
I'll be up at the pearly gates. What happened, Peter? What happened, man? Did you see that ass? Got caught slipping.
Wow. You saying Jesus would have gave you a pass on that one? I did create that, didn't I? Yeah, okay. Yes, I'm going to let you go this time. I don't know what I was thinking on that one. But anyway, let me stop before I get struck down.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
In comic news.
Don't get me started on Batman 50, please.
Can someone please tell me what's the controversy on Batman? Because I can't find it.
Well, wait a minute. I was going to go completely.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Completely different, but now if we want to get into Batman, let's get into Batman.
Well,
and actually, Action or Man of Steel wrapped up as well this week.
Yes. Well, the Batman thing was the 50th issue is supposed to be the wedding of Batman and Catwoman, which they've been. I swear, it seemed like it's been a year build up.
Yeah.
To this. Well, first of all, DC, I think it was the New York Times, spoil the issue before it was released, which that makes no sense to me. Why would you do that? And then the actual book itself, I thought was kind of trash to me. First of all, they don't end up getting married, but it's just like panels, regular comic panels, and then it's like two pages of like pinups from different artists that have like this letter, I guess Batman and Catwoman are writing to each other. Yeah. It was just, I didn't like it, man. And then the outcome I didn't like at all. It's like all this build up for that. And it was already spoiled anyway, so I already knew what was going to happen. But just, they dropped the ball on that whole thing to me. It's very disappointed.
Well, I wasn't disappointed because I didn't expect them to get married anyway. But this goes to show what the problem with, the whole New 52 relaunch was initially. They could have done this back in the day in the alternate universe. No one would have said anything. But now, everything is in a DC Prime, whatever you want to call it, universe, and there's no way they were getting married. No way. But the way that they both realized it and punked out at the same time in the same manner, yeah, that was kind of bullshit. You're right.
Yeah, I'm just more mad that they spoiled it before it came out. Like, what was the point of it? I didn't need to really read it then. I was like, this is such an important issue and story, but you give it to some non-comic related outlet, which I guess they thought it was going to be a big news story. But what about all the people who've been buying the book for the last 12 issues who are waiting for this and you just blurt it out? It just was like, to me, it was a slap in the face of their real customers because they want to get all these so-called other people to buy the book, which they ain't fucking go, what are they going to do, run to the comic book store to buy issue 50 and they've never bought a comic before? It's just ridiculous. And
buy a comic for that resolution.
Exactly. It just was stupid as hell. To me, it's a glaring, this is what they think about you.
Well, it's the same thing that happened back when they killed Superman in 92. A lot of people who never bought a book lined up around the block to get one, knowing he wasn't staying dead.
Yeah, but that's in 92 when there was comic sale. 2008, ain't nobody lining up around the block who ain't never bought no comic to go buy this. That ain't, it doesn't make no sense now. It was just shitting on their actual customer base.
Well, that ain't new.
Yeah, it's not, but it definitely, that's why I'm like, you know what? I don't feel bad downloading them. They don't give a fuck, so I don't give a fuck. Let all them people that read the New York Times, they can buy it. That's who they're catering it to anyway, so I'll just download it.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the problems I have with this industry. They are always trying to, not pimp, but definitely court this elusive new reader that ain't coming.
Yeah, not for something like that. Now, I did see that they did a deal with Walmart where they're going to have these like giant size digest type DC comics.
Yeah, I did see that.
I think that's kind of cool. I want to just buy one just to see what it looks like.
Well, they used to do those back in the day, especially like Archie and Richie Rich type books would do that a lot.
They still sell those.
Yeah, they're still doing those?
Yeah, I see them at the grocery store at the counter.
Yeah, so they're trying to get some of that market share, which is, hey, if it works, great.
Yeah, that makes me think about it. That's interesting that even to this day, they still have those books. And I'm like, how do they get that spot in retail? You tell me they can't put Spider-Man or the Avengers, as popular as those movies are, they can't get those books in that prime location?
No, because those books come out monthly and they need to be read in a serial format. Whereas digest are just collected, editions of stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They could collect. They got 40, 50 years of comics.
That's true.
Comics. They could put those. Here's the story of Ultron, or here's the story that leads up to what you just saw in the movie, or something. I mean, they have all that shit they can do. But I guess again, they probably. Here's the thing about you. I guess. Why would we do that? We can just relaunch Avengers #1 again.
For the billionth fucking time.
Exactly. But you were going to go somewhere with some comic. What were you going to talk about?
Yeah. Unfortunately, comics suffered a huge loss this week. Legendary, and that word gets thrown around too easily nowadays, but this instance it is definitely warranted. Artist Steve Ditko passed away at 90. For people who do not know, Steve Ditko is the co-creator of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, among other things. And his work was very, very distinct. A lot of people look at his Spider-Man and his Doctor Strange as the definitive visions of those characters. I can't argue that, but they're definitely stand out, and he influenced legions of other comic artists with his work.
Yeah, no doubt, man. He was the original cat to draw Spider-Man, right? Like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was him.
I always wonder, well, I guess they just did that as work for hire, but man, that's crazy. Such a legacy.
And the thing is, when you do, again, I wasn't there, obviously, in the 1950s and 60s, but when you do something as a work for hire back then, you're not really, as a talent or as an employer, you're not anticipating where it's going to go. You're just not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, rest in peace, Steve Ditko.
So, who is this Bernice woman? Is she doing anything or just running around with her camera?
You must be looking at some pictures. Why don't you bring? We'll look at her. Look at her again and ask yourself, what is she? She ain't got to do nothing, apparently.
She does that very well.
What's it say? Fine, she ain't got to know how to sing.
Yeah. She would have been in the Prince harem.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. She, I think she was a video model.
Okay.
No, a video vixen turned model, quote unquote, and side piece.
Wow.
Hey, that's what the streets is saying.
I can't lock the hustle.
A side piece.
This new artificial age, people like that have a big career,
But the thing is like, yes, she's definitely had some work done, but it doesn't look absurd like Kim Kardashian shit. Her stuff looks pretty proportioned, and goddamn, she fine.
See?
Huh? Side piece to video vixen. Okay.
Hey, I ain't mad at him. Out of my league, but do you think them brothers who got big balling? You know what it is. All right. Anyway,
I'm sorry to say it's still tricking if you got it.
I ain't got it, so I don't know if it's still tricking.
Wow.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap things up here. Wow, this has been quite the show. Actually, wait, I think we got a comment. We actually got a comment from the last show that just came in. I'm going to read that. It says, Big Sexy, go see Superfly first before you judge. It was pretty good. I was surprised at how closely it follows the original story. If you've seen the original, you'll understand it. You all should discuss it after everybody has seen it. I think they did a great job at modernizing a classic. It could have been really bad, but it wasn't. So thank you to Vinyl Jeopardy for that comment.
Classic.
Well, I think she said they monetized a classic movie, not calling this new one a classic. But are you saying that? Are you saying the old one is?
I saw it eons ago, and I wouldn't put it in the grouping of the bulk of what are called black exploitation films by any stretch.
Oh, really?
No. I mean, like, if you put it next to stuff like Coffee and, what like that, no, it's not even like that. This movie told a story. I'd have to see it again, actually. Man, I'm curious.
I've only seen it once. And I would just put it in this. I think it's a classic blaxploitation movie. I think more so for the soundtrack.
Freddie Mercury. Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah.
Killed that soundtrack.
Yeah.
Killed it. And the good thing about it, someone just pointed this out to me in an article. the good thing about, or the unusual thing about the soundtrack, is it was told from a stance of someone talking to the main character. It wasn't glamorizing what he was doing. He was saying, look, man, this is what you're doing here. This is what's happening. Which I had never thought about before.
Wow. Yeah, it's a landmark piece of work, that soundtrack is. If you are a fan of music, period, that's something you should have access to and listen to. It's a great piece of work.
That's the first LP I ever bought with my own money.
Oh, wow. Okay. I always remember it because they had the Superfly part kind of folded out.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I bought it long before I saw the movie, too. Because I was 8.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, I did enjoy the new Superfly. It was cool little movie. It's just we're at an interesting time for, I guess, African American movies and TV shows.
I was just about to go there.
Yeah, there's so much to choose from, man. Quality stuff. It's amazing. I've just been catching up on Black Lightning, and I was watching. I was like, I had to marvel at it. I was like, you know what? This is dope. I wish they could have had this back when I was younger, but I was like, this is a pretty cool show. Like, you would have never gotten something like this before.
How is that going? I like the guy who plays cool. Black Lightning, but I really, kept up on it. Is it doing well?
I'm watching it. And I think it's because I don't like to watch it. That's not a ringing endorsement. Well, I wouldn't if I didn't like it. Trust me, I wouldn't finish it. I'm not under obligation to be finishing these shows, but I like it better than I like Luke Cage. I'll tell you that.
Really?
I mean, it just holds my attention. It's just entertaining to me. It's not. So, okay. Some parts so far, I've watched the second season of Luke Cage. I think I've 3 or 4 episodes, and it's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but I noticed that I stopped watching that and I went back to Black Lightning, and I kind of like it better. But I think they're both good shows. My point is to say there's a lot of great stuff out there to see that, and it's not all stereotypical stuff. There's everywhere from superheroes to family dramas to comedies to big budget horror movies, sci-fi. It's all, historical stuff. It's not just either slave movies or it's not just hood movies. It's a plethora of stuff, man.
A plethora.
Now, what do you say to some that say that after Black Panther raised the bar for African American content, that shows like a Queen Sugar or films like Superfly and Uncle Drew is taking us a step back?
Oh, I don't know how Queen Sugar takes us back. I've only seen a few episodes of Queen Sugar. I thought that was.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of Greenleaf. Greenleaf, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Greenleaf is one of my favorite shows. So I guess I disagree with that wholeheartedly because I bought Greenleaf season 2. If that'll tell you anything.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm here for that. Yeah, I love good soap opera type drama when at times, and I think it does it very well. I don't like just one style of something, so I disagree with. I don't disagree that Black Panther raises the bar. I think it does, but again, it raises the bar for Black science fiction superhero stuff. But there are different genres of entertainment. To me, Friday rose the bar on comedies at that time. All movies don't need to be like Friday, but if you're going to do that type of movie, here's the bar for this genre. I think a movie like, what's that movie? Big comedy that Tiffany Haddish came out on?
Girls Trip.
Girls Trip?
To me, that is a very funny movie. I am, again, I'm not a huge Tiffany Haddish fan or non-fan per se, but that movie was funny. There's funny stuff in that movie, just like any sort of movie. Like that was great, but I don't want to see that person play that same character all the time. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I don't sit here and say, well, this one movie defines all Black existence. That's absurd to me.
Okay, good.
Well, speaking of Black films and TV shows, I believe it's been announced that Insecure starts back up in August.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna check it out. I kind of do have a side eye to them now, because they said that this season focuses on toxic black masculinity.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means. On the surface, I ain't really with that. So we'll see. You know, so when people start getting a little success, they try to flip it and start doing some other shit. Just be funny like it was before. If they're gonna try to have a message, long as it isn't putting us in the what about this type, you know, trying to make us the bad guys. I'm gonna watch it, but I got my eyes open.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, especially since they've had this trend of black men being the white people of the black community.
Not with all that. So we'll see. You know, I'll definitely gonna watch it. But I'll watch that just as I'll watch Power. You know,
Damn it, Tariq.
Yeah, it's it's about the drug dealers. Yeah, but it's done. I think it's done for the kind of genre it is. It's done very well.
Power is in its 5th season, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's still good.
I gotta check it out. I've never seen it.
Oh, you should check it out, man. I like it. It's a good show. Very good show.
I binge watched because I think a 3rd season or maybe right before the 3rd season, I kind of been ignoring it. Plus, I didn't pay for Stars. But when I won't expose myself. When I got the Fire Stick, I said, okay, let me go ahead and check this out. I was hooked. And I binge watched the first 2 seasons within like 5 days.
Yeah, it's some good. Remember when it first came on, and at the time it came out, Empire was really popular, and people were trying to compare the two. Power blows Empire out of the fucking water.
Is Empire still going on, or?
I think it is. I don't watch it, but yeah.
I've been watching Empire, and what I say is this is doing a very big disservice to the black community, because for some reason they're making black people think that you can take your company public and somehow lose control of your company, put enough stock that you don't have majority ownership of it.
Well, you can.
No sane person will take their company public and put enough stock that they don't have controlling interest. No sane person would do that.
I just watched
oh shit.
the show Billions. I love that show. That exact thing just happened. A lot of people who own these public companies, they get, and again, I'm not one of them, but they get caught up with the board of directors and the lure of all of this influx of money from the IPO. So they're thinking, like the top guy's thinking, well, if I keep 30%, no one's going to go out there and buy more. No one person is going to buy a bigger chunk than 30, so I'm good. Well, all of a sudden, here come the corporate raiders. Let's buy this shit up. All of a sudden, now you have a problem.
That to me is asinine. That is just
I'm not saying it's not, but it does happen.
Okay, I guess the fuck up, I will be shutting.
Interesting. Let's one last story here. I'm just seeing this come across. It says Donald Glover's record label might be suing him over streaming rights.
Oh, here we go.
Donald Glover may soon be in trouble with his own record label, Glassnote Entertainment. In a recent lawsuit, they claim Glover, Childish Gambino, has robbed them of the streaming royalties they are owed, and they're going to get the law involved to settle the matter. How much in royalties does Glassnote Entertainment believe they are owed? It says here about $700,000 in streaming money. And Glassnote said they haven't seen a single dollar from that big pile of cash. Now they're looking to their share of the pie from Glover through the court. As reported by TMZ, Glassnote has produced 3 albums with Donald Glover, which includes 2011's Camp, 2013's Because the Internet, and the 2016 Awaken My Love, which notably included the chart-topping hit Redbone. As a musician, Donald Glover made a colossal impact, of course, with his new song, This Is America, and its video, which debuted online shortly after its live premiere. It has gone on currently to do 323 million views on YouTube. Boy, that's a hell of a check coming from that. And shows zero signs of slowing down. According to Glassnode Entertainment, Donald Glover has received close to $8 million from their accounts, and the organization is expected to pay him $2 million in royalties within the next 3 months. Additionally, the record label claims Glover is making the label pay $1.5 million in a recent demand, which is why it aims to resolve the streaming royalty disputes. Now the record label and the artists are planning to take their recent cash disputes to court. I'm kind of confused. And let's see. Donald is currently working on another untitled album right now, which is expected to arrive later this year. According to reports, Donald Glover himself is supposedly the last album for Childish Gambino. Of course, it's subject to change. The record will reportedly not be released under Glassnode's label, but rather Wolf Rothstein and RCA. Yeah, I need to understand what's really going on here, but I find it interesting that it's a record label suing the artist for royalties, and not the artist suing the record company for the royalties.
Well, Donald sounds like he's a step ahead of the game here, because we all know labels have been fucking artists for years,
right?
And none of us know the gist of the contract with Glassnote, but in light of it being so current and the streaming things just really now being, for the moment at least, resolved, I would be surprised how much it anticipated streaming. Now, generally speaking, the labels and the tech companies share that streaming money. The artists get nothing, as we all know. So maybe Donald said, you know what, let me just take my master and go to these streaming companies myself and do my thing, and essentially cutting the label out. Now, if he owns his masters and there's no provision for streaming in that agreement with Glassnote and they're just doing distribution, they may be ass out. But, I'll definitely follow this one in court, though.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, again, if Donald Glover says, well, shit, we just set up our own YouTube page,
yeah,
and put this video up, and obviously, that AdSense money goes to my account. Yeah, he cut the middleman out.
I'm okay with that.
Mad as fuck. It was so fun. I was just listening to this guy last night. Oh, his name is Spoken Reasons. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Reasons.
He was a poet dude, but he was a YouTube star. Black comedian, young guy, very young. He was a YouTube cat. He was blowing up on YouTube. I remember seeing his videos years ago. You probably have seen his face, and I think I'm saying his name right, Spoken Reasons. But he dropped a video, I think it was late last night, night before, and he's talking about his experiences with success and then going to Hollywood and being in movies, and now he's kind of back to where he started. And it was a very interesting thing. I'm not going to go the whole thing, but he talked about he was blowing up on YouTube. He was doing it by himself, doing his own videos, and he's saying, like, I was making, $20,000 to $30,000 to $50,000 a month through YouTube checks coming in. And then, of course, he started to get the attention of the industry. And, he's like, everyone was trying to court me. Kevin Hart wanted to sign me. This person, that person, they all wanted to sign me. DJ Vlad, blah, blah, blah. But they wasn't trying to give me no money. He was like, I was making the money on my own. What were they going to provide for me that I wasn't already getting? He was like, they all just wanted in on my AdSense money, on my YouTube money. And he was like, I ain't letting nobody have that. And I don't need nothing unless you're going to cut me a huge check. And so he talked about how he didn't do any of those deals, but then he ended up signing with this guy named Steve Rifkin, which I don't know if you heard of him before, Mark. He's the guy behind like Wu-Tang. I always call him like the white Russell Simmons. He's
okay.
If you look him up, I can't remember the name of his record company. It was a huge hip hop label. and did his thing. So he ended up becoming his manager. And that's one of those guys that if you sign with somebody like him, you're going to go on to do big things because they linked into the industry. Long story short, Steve gets him to Russell Simmons. And he talks about, meeting Russell, and he basically, Russell comes in, I work for you, nigga. This is what Russell tells him. He's like, what? He's like, I work for you, little nigga. But his story goes on to say that this is the beginnings of All Def Digital.
Oh.
And he talks and he kept saying they wanted me to sign with a network, but I wasn't trying to do that. I have my own YouTube thing. I didn't need nothing from them. I just need them to put me in a position so I can do my thing. And he starts getting movie auditions. He actually ends up being in that movie, The Heat, with Sandra Bullock or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I guess was a big movie.
Yeah.
But he's like, they convinced me to move to LA, but he's like, something happened in the middle. All my AdSense on my YouTube videos got turned off. And he was like, I didn't understand what was going on. And I went from, having buku money coming in, I'm starting to get low and low on money. And at this point, he's got people that he's on his payroll helping him do certain things. And I have to still pay these people, and I got to pay rent. But I'm not getting my YouTube money all of a sudden. And I can't figure out what's going on. And at this time, in these days, you couldn't contact YouTube and ask them what the fuck, I was getting shut out. And he made it sound like somehow Russell Simmons and whoever else was able to get at YouTube and say, yo, cut his shit off. He's with me. And the only way he's going to get his YouTube money is if he signs with me. And then he can start getting paid. And that's when he ends up starting Def Digital with Russell Simmons. He's like the big talent that they have. And it's just one of those stories of, I know what's funny and what I do, but then they wanted me to do these other things and bring in all these people, and I didn't need all that shit. I just needed you to cut me a check. I can do this on my own. But they kind of cut him out. They were somehow able to get to YouTube to cut off his money. And the only way he was going to get that money is if they came over here with Russell. And this is a very interesting story of what happens when you get on their radar and they want you. They got a little more pull and power behind the scenes to sort of maneuver certain things and get you cut out the game. And then almost like he kind of got blacklisted a little bit because he ultimately ends up quitting them and going to do his own thing.
Where'd you see this?
I'll find it. It's a very long video. He starts going in.
Oh, I want to see this.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story when you see a young creative and they start to do it, and then kind of what happens when you get into that life and the big money people start coming at you, and you don't necessarily want to play ball with them. And
you don't want to play ball their way.
Yeah, and they start to maneuver things, and I don't think he realized the pull that they had, because he was talking about the Steve Rifkin dude. He's like, Steve Rifkin took me to one of these big agents companies in Hollywood, and he's a very funny guy the way he tells the story, but he's like, these were the real white people that worked there. He's like, the white people that you see in regular life, these were the real white people. And he was like, they were so slick, and they all looked a certain way. Like he was blown away, but he saw power. What he really is saying, he saw the real movers and shakers of the game. And they basically just told him, what do you want? And we'll make it happen for you. And they did. We can put you in front of these real situations. But obviously it was only going to work unless they got a cut off everything.
Of course. They got to get that taste.
So it was very interesting. Yeah, I'll find it and share that. I'll put it in the show notes as well. But we got to get out of here, man. So we could be talking all day. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, where can you find Mr. Antpooh when he is not being a father? He's always a father, so you're always going to find him being a dad. But where can you find him online?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Antpooh. And I'll say in about 2 hours, you'll find me on YouTube with a new episode of the QA reviewing Ant-Man and the Wasp. We go heavy into it. And then we're going to talk into some colorism. Yeah, that one gets deep.
That just reminded me of something. And so I saw a tweet on your co-host's timeline. Something about, did you say she was ugly or something?
Yeah, I saw that too there, Ant.
I usually don't be getting into other folks' business, but I was just like, damn, come on now.
Yeah,
That ain't what happened.
you need to be about that, man.
You got to watch the show and see what happened.
Okay, all right.
Well, listen to the show, I should say. Oh, and then next week I will be at. Hey, this is for the show, right? I'll be at BeautyCon, Linden Live.
It's for what show now?
For our show, we're going to BeautyCon. Mariah wanted to go. I made it happen, so we'll be there covering everything. Hopefully, getting some cool interviews in as well.
You guys gonna do some video?
Yep.
Oh, tight. Okay.
I'll be taking
BeautyCon.
the man card. Thank you.
Hilarious.
Whatever.
Hey, man, as long as you're not getting a makeover, though, it should be all good.
Yeah, hey, I'm gonna be on video. I might need it. I'm just keeping it real.
Hilarious.
Toes done.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll definitely be looking out for that. Big Sexy and Sack, where can I find you?
Oh, man, it's starting to get a little warm here. But Twitter, and I've just been a little more active on it. I'm being followed by the lovely Mandy Rose from WWE. Thank you. Thank you. WSC Mark, Facebook, Mark Wiggins. And on the 17th, I'll be on the plane headed out to D.C. for a week. Looking forward to seeing the museum and trying a couple of Michelin-starred restaurants out there.
All right. Nice, nice. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be here putting in work, as we always do. I want to thank all of our listeners on YouTube, because I'm going to put this on YouTube, so I'm going to open the door. I'm going to open
Rifkin,
the door
call us up.
to those. No, I'm opening the door to those comments, because I know they're going to go in on this, and I love it. I'm here for it. I may not respond, but I'm going to definitely read it.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely coming for you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and hey, I'm here for it. Also, shout out to everybody on Podcast Juice, the whole team, putting in work and doing great stuff. And hey, as I always say, work it like a job. We'll see you next time. Peace. It's purge time, niggas.